Happy Wednesday, everybody. Wow, interesting games yesterday. We got four more on the card today. Same teams, same location. So let's see how it goes. But pretty wild day yesterday. It really came down to two-out hitting. All of all the first three games, we took some nice L's on, and all came down to two-out hitting. So all three teams had clutch hits with two outs. Let's see. Let's start with the Tigers and Astros. Let's see. Tigers had back-to-back-to-back clutch two-out hits. All three runs came in one inning. Pretty much the story of the day. Orioles, Kansas City. Corbin Burnes walked one person. One person, and that one person scored on a clutch Bobby Witt Jr. hit. And then in the Mets Braves game, the Mets scored 5 runs with two outs. I believe it was back to back to back. It was like 3 or 4 hits in a row. So all came down two-out hitting. Braves and Padres. Tatis hit a monster 2-run home run in the first. They scored one in the second, and then didn't score again until the eighth and held the Braves scoreless. So pretty interesting day. But let's get into the recap. So down 1.46 units, but we did hit the upset parlay. I don't count that, but that was plus 1,063. So personally on the day up, so it was a good day. But we hit the Brewers team total of 3.5. We hit the Padres team total of over 3.5. Again, that hit in the eighth, so got a little sweaty. That seemed pretty sweat-free after the second inning when it was 3-0. Houston, first 5 minus a half. That was an L. They could not hit with runners in scoring position. Baltimore could not hit with runners in scoring position. So we didn't get any runs from the Orioles. Actually, maybe one? I don't know. No, obviously it was 1-0. So, yeah, it is what it is. The Astros game, I actually thought they were going to win. They had bases loaded, 2 outs. Hayward was up, and he scorched one down the line, but hit it right at the first baseman. I mean, he tattooed that ball. So could have very easily had tied that game up. We missed both of our parlays, but like I said, we hit the upset parlay. That was pretty cool. Prop leans, we went 2-1. Scooble over 5.5 Ks. Check that box. Valdez over 6.5 Ks was a bust, man. He looked pretty bad. I don't know if anybody watched the game, but he was hanging his curveball. It was one of those you hang it, we bang it type of situations. Everything was just kind of over the middle of the plate. He just wasn't able to spot the corners. Corbin Burnes under 4.5 Ks. I love this play. Plus 125. That was a banger. That hit, he had 3. So really like that one. Nerfies, we went 2-0. Detroit and Houston and Casey and Baltimore were our 2 Nerfy plays, and we crushed those. So that was pretty good. Very happy with that. Yeah, that should have been in there. We don't want to talk about Monday Night Football. Let's get into the slate of games today. So we've got Tigers, Astros first on the card again, 2:32 in a dome, so we're not too worried about the weather. Tyler Holton going up against Hunter Brown. Now Holton did throw 2 pitches yesterday, something like that. Not too worried about that. He hadn't pitched the previous 3 days, so all good there. I love Holton. I've watched Holton pitch a lot. The guy scares me to death when I'm on the other team and he comes in. He has been super, super solid this year. If we look at Holton, he has thrown 17 innings in the month of September. That was over 12 games. There was only one game where he had runs scored off of him. He gave up 2 versus the Orioles, so he went 11 of 12 were scoreless. That said, we're talking 1-2 innings at a time. Reese Olson was slated loosely yesterday to throw. They ended up going with Holton, chance to win the series. I love it. I think Holton's probably going to give us 3, maybe 4 innings. I mean, I really hope he goes 5, but I just don't see that in the cards. I'm hoping for 3. Beyond that, right, are we going to get a Casey Mize? Are we going to get a Reese Olson? Are they just going to say the hell with it and just straight bullpen it? Who knows? This team has thrown more bullpen innings than any team in baseball by damn near 100 innings. They've got 670.2 innings pitched in their bullpen. Conversely, Astros have 544, just to give you kind of a frame of reference. So these bullpen arms have been used a lot ever since, they traded Flaherty, which, God, that would be good to have right now. Yeah, so I really like Holton. He's faced this team 3 times since 2023, 2 games this year, 4 innings. He's given up 1 hit, no earned runs. So in 4 innings, give up 1 hit. I love it. I just think this guy's stuff is really dominant. He's got a 1.54 ERA when he's away. We look at Hunter Brown. Now he's got a good track record against his team. He's 3-0, 2.93 career ERA in 5 games. Faced him once in 2022, twice in 2023, and 2 times this year. His 2 starts this year, he's 1-0 with a .75 ERA. That said, he faced this team earlier in the year. That team earlier in the year to the team today, night and day difference. Just massive difference. Tigers are just rolling, man. There's not much you can say. We tried to fade them yesterday. To me, the Astros, when they go on these offensive slumps, they usually aren't just one game and then they bounce back. So could happen today, but they tend to be like 2-3 game streaks if we look throughout the course of the season where offensively they just didn't show up. They left a lot of runners on base yesterday. So I would say Tigers, man. We're getting too much value at plus 150 to fade the Tigers, especially just how they've been playing. Like I said, I like Holton. So we've got some angles that we're going to take in this game. We look at the splits. Holton giving up a 200 average to lefties. He's probably not going to see a ton of lefties. 111 to righties over the last 30 days. Hunter Brown's been solid against lefties. 157 average, but righties a little worse at 246. So there is an avenue there. If we look at Brown, most recent games, pitched against the Astros on 9/23. Gave up 1 earned run. Faced the Padres, gave up 2. Got lit up by Oakland at home, gave up 5. Shut down the Reds, right? I mean, he's probably going to give up 1 or 2. I mean, we're really hoping for 2. But yeah, I think this should be a pretty good game. I'll be honest, projections have this game with the Astros. My projections have the score 4 to basically 4 to 5.5. So good look at taking the over. No, that's a pass for me. All right, next game on the card is going to be Kansas City and Baltimore. So the issue with Baltimore, if you watched the game yesterday, the wind played a significant factor for Baltimore. Realistically, Baltimore should have won this. They tattooed some baseballs that on a normal day would have gone out. Probably would have scored at least 4 off the long ball. But because the wind was blowing in, they stayed in the park. Conversely, Kansas City hit maybe 1 that probably would have went out, then ended up staying in the park. But these 2 teams are built completely different. And it matters today to me because we have the wind blowing in again. Not a lot. We've got a little 3-mile-an-hour wind blowing in. But Orioles are built for the long ball. I think they're like 3rd in baseball in terms of runs by the home run. Kansas City's like dead last. They're built for base-to-base, doubles, contact hitting. So in my opinion, we've got the wind blowing in, and it just seems like it really works in Kansas City's favor at plus 136. Do you trust Lugo, really? It's all it comes down to. Postseason, a little bit different, man. If you got Lugo versus Eflin, I'm backing Lugo here. If we look at Eflin, he's got an 8.36 ERA versus Kansas City since 2023. That can't get behind that. So, yeah, he's only pitched against him 1 game in 24. He pitched against them 2 games in 23. So over the last 3 games between 23 and 24, 13 earned runs. His start this year was in July. It was on July 4th. He went 5 innings, gave up 7 hits, 5 earned runs. He's given up 6 earned runs in his last 3 games, 6 earned in his last 3 home games. So if we kind of break that down, look at his home games. Or let's say last 3. So he was at New York, he gave up 3. He was facing the Giants, a team that struggled offensively, gave up 2. He was at Detroit on September 13th, gave up 1. So pretty good outing there. Faced Tampa Bay on September 7th, gave up 3. But he has been giving up a decent amount of hits. I mean, during this last 5 starts, he's given up 27 hits. So he's given up more than 5 hits per start. We look at Seth Lugo and how is he faring. Pretty good. He had a really good September after a pretty bad August. He went 27 innings in September, gave up 21 hits, so we'd like to see that down a little bit. However, the Tigers really got to him in 1 game. He gave up 7 earned runs in the month compared to Eflin's 10. Both of them giving up a little too many hits, but yeah, I would lean more towards Lugo, to be honest. If we look at Lugo versus the Orioles, he's only faced them 1 time this year. That was on April 21st. He went 5.1 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs. So I don't love the hits, but I I just feel like playoff Lugo is about to show up today. I mean, the guy was 16-9 on the year, going up against Eflin. To me, it just comes down to, do I trust Eflin? I do not. So this is a play. I can't take the Orioles at minus 162 after what we saw yesterday. Another day of the wind blowing in. Yeah, I can't get behind that. That's just me. If we look at Lugo, his splits, 200 average to lefties over the last 30 days, 240 to righties. Eflin, 209 to lefties, so just a little bit worse, but 283 to right-handed hitters with a 300 WOBA. So not much I can get behind. Kansas City's offense, yes, it is scary. They are not hitting. 192 over the last 14, 187 over the last 7. I do feel a little bit better having Pasquiano back in the lineup. That's a nice bat to have. If we look at runners in scoring position, both teams technically have been hitting great over the past 7 days. Kansas City's hitting 370 with runners in scoring position over the past week. Baltimore's hitting 373. Like I said, they're built for the long ball. Wind blowing in, I don't know. Do they win? Probably. I don't think they jack the odds all the way up to minus 162 after what they saw yesterday, unless they know something. But yeah, maybe lean towards the under 7.5. All right, both teams kind of struggling to score. I think that under 7.5, there's good value there. All right, third game on the card, Mets and the Brewers. We were on the Brewers yesterday. It was looking good. They got to Severino. I think the game plan kind of went as we thought. And then, wow, they took Peralta out, which I didn't necessarily agree with. I understand that his batting average coming through that third time isn't great. So he had worked out of 2 jams. You take him out to avoid facing the lineup a third time. But man, they absolutely got to that bullpen, and then the clutch 2-out hits just kept coming and coming and coming. It was pretty good. Sean Manaea going up against Frankie Montas. This was actually Aaron Savali late last night, but it got changed to Montas this morning. If we look at Manaea, hasn't had a great track record versus Milwaukee. He's got a 5.06 ERA versus Milwaukee since 2022. That's over 4 games, 1 in 2022, 2 in 23, and 1 this year. His 1 game this year was just his last start, so September 27th, and it was a rough one. 3.2 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs. So if we look over the course of his 4 games since 2022, it's 16 innings pitched, so not a lot of innings. That's only an average of 4. 18 hits, 9 earned runs, 18 Ks. So they've really gotten to him. Line movement has been crazy towards the Mets. This opened last night at plus 120. I hammered it immediately as soon as it opened. It is now minus 110. If we look at Manaea, recent trends, 9 earned runs in his last 3 games, 6 earned runs in his last 3 away games. We just talked about it. 5 of those came against Milwaukee, but he faced Toronto, not a great team, gave up 1. Faced the White Sox, didn't give up any. We just kind of fade. Anything White Sox is irrelevant. If we look at Frankie to fade Montas, he faced against this team same day as Manaea. They squared up last start, so 927 for Montas. He went 4 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, and 6 Ks. For Montas, he has not been good at home. 12 earned runs in his last 3 home games, which is also his last 3 starts. Gave up 2 to the Mets, gave up 7 to the Diamondbacks, and then gave up 3 to the Phillies. So the big advantage that we said the Brewers had yesterday was the bullpen. That kind of shifted yesterday. Severino gave them 6 good innings. They ended up getting up 4. They were able to use some weaker arms. Milwaukee used a couple of their really good arms. They used Payamps, they used Hader. So I think you almost get the inverse now. So the Mets were able to give Diaz. They were able to give some of their stronger guys some time off. So I think the bullpen advantage has been completely negated. But I do like the over in this game. If we look over the last 11 times these two teams have played, they've gone over in 8. So we've got a really good track record that says runs will be scored. I think Manaea is going to give up some runs. I don't think he goes out and shuts them out. And we know Montas likes to give up runs. So I definitely like the over in this situation. Yeah, I mean, if we look at Milwaukee hitting left-handed pitchers, we know they got to Manaea, but they didn't get to Peterson on 9/29. They didn't really get to Jose Quintana on 9/28, and Quintana hasn't been pitching lights out whatsoever. Before that, They got to Bailey Falter, they got to Montgomery a little bit, they got to Ranger Suarez. Didn't really get to Rodriguez or Snell or Kyle Freeland. So they're a little up and down on lefties. I guess it depends on your school of thought here. Do you think Manaea bounces back from a bad start and has a good start? Or think Milwaukee hammers him? I think he has a better start than last time. And I think Montas does what Montas does, especially in a playoff elimination scenario. Can't put my faith in Montas whatsoever. So give me the Mets at minus 110 here. Last game on the card is going to be the Braves and the Padres. So we already talked in depth about this game. What an outing yesterday. That was extremely impressive by Michael King. I want to say I read something like first pitcher to have no walks and whatever. He had like 12 Ks. I mean, he just mowed them down. So it was a beautiful outing. He went deep into the game, helped with their bullpen, so they didn't have to use very many arms. It was just really, really, really good. Max Fried going up against Joe Musgrove. So if we look at Fried, 3.26 away ERA, Musgrove a 3.86 home ERA. Fried has a 4.11 ERA versus the Padres since 2022, and that's 3 games. So he's thrown 1 game a year against them. His game this year came on May 17th. He went 4.1 innings, 9 hits, 3 earned, 2 Ks. So that was at home. If we look at Fried, recently he's been pitching really well. He's only given up 4 earned in his last 3, but significantly worse on the road in terms from that number. He's given up 8 in his last 3 games. 2 of them were not good teams. He gave up 1 at Miami. He gave up 4 at Washington, which we've seen Washington tag some lefties over the last 6 weeks of the season there. And then he gave up 3 against the Phillies. So if we look at Musgrove, he's been pitching really, really well. Last game was in 2022 versus these Braves. So he's really only got 2 games pitched against this team, 12.2 innings, 8 hits, 2 earned runs. But recent trends, he's been on fire. He's thrown 2 shutouts in his last 3, gave up 2 at Los Angeles, given up 2 in LA. Pretty impressive. That was his last start. He's given up 6 earned runs in his last 3 home games. All of those were against the Giants. That would be 3 home starts ago, so quite a bit. But, man, he has just been absolutely dominant in every sense of the word, save for 1 game against the Giants. Pitch splits, the only thing that concerns me is he is giving up a decently high average to righties over the last 30 days. He's given up a 286 average versus a 149 to lefties. Fried is giving up a 226 average to lefties, 239 to righties. Hard hit percentages for Musgrove, a little scary, 41.1%. 90 exit velo, those are both above league average. In terms of what Musgrove throws, a little concern there. He throws the fastball about 29% of the time. Braves are number 3 over the last 30 days hitting the fastball. He throws the cutter 21% of the time. Braves are number 1 hitting the cutter. So there are definitely some angles where I could see taking the Braves at plus 105. Line movement is going towards the Padres. If we look at Fried, throws the fastball about 50% of the time. Padres are 7th against lefties over the last 30 days. I will tell you their WOBA is absolutely green across the board when you look at Fried throwing the fastball. So that was kind of the tipping point for me. Now that said, he also throws the curveball a lot, and the WOBA significantly drops for the Padres. So should find some success with his curveball, but his fastball, it looks on paper like it should get tattooed a little bit. That said, tattoo is a relative term. I mean, the over-under here is 6.5. The over is favored at minus 125, though. But we're going to have the wind blowing out today as opposed to in yesterday. But should be a really good game. I'm looking forward to watching that game at least as much as I can. All right, pitching report here. You guys can take a screenshot. Do what you want with this data. It worked out pretty well yesterday with the Corbin Burns call. I liked it. Park factors today. This is kind of one of the things that really sold me on Kansas City. Yesterday we saw a minus 10% home run rate. Today we're seeing minus 13. So we're seeing an even higher, or I should say less home run rate today. So I just think that really aids in Kansas City favor. Like I said, the Orioles were built for power. And you take that long ball away, a lot of lefties in this lineup, and you're going to have the wind blowing in from right center field. So it really works against them in that situation. We talk about rankings and best bets. So first bet for me on the card today is going to be the Detroit and Houston Nerfy. I'm going right back to the well at minus 130 today. I think Holton can get the job done. Hunter Brown makes me a little nervous. Detroit is a team that likes to score first, so they do tend to get out and score often in the first couple of innings. We're just hoping it's not the first. Give me the Tigers first 5 plus a half. Like I said, I really like Holton. Hunter Brown is hittable. We've seen many instances where he's hittable. I'm just hoping Holton can give us maybe 3-4 innings. That would be fantastic, and hope the Tigers bullpen doesn't blow it. Hoping they get a lead by then. Atlanta, San Diego Padres, first 5 under 3.5. I just think Musgrove's been pitching great. Fried's been pitching pretty good. I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. If you don't like the first 5 under, I would say you could get ballsy and take the full game under. I just like the starting pitching, so I'm going to isolate it to that. Give me the Mets first 5. I think they hit Montas. I think Manaea has a bounce back start. That said, I think it's probably a 3-2 after 5 innings type of deal. I mean, it's probably going to be a pretty high scoring game, which is why we're taking the over 7.5 just to play on the numbers. 8 of 11 have gone over this total, so if it doesn't hit, I'd be shocked, but we'll see. And then give me Kansas City team total over 1.5 through the first 5. It's just a play off of Eflin. We showed he doesn't have a great ERA versus this team. I think Kansas City's just a scrappy bunch, so they're going to string some hits together and hopefully get those 2 runs for us at plus money. Parlays I like today, give me Detroit and Houston, as well as Kansas City and Baltimore. So we're taking both of those games. We're going to take the first 5 under 4.5. So it's the same 4.5 line for both games. And then we're going to pair that with the New York Mets team total over 2.5 at plus 292. You could look at the team total over 3.5 if you want. We kind of have that in the other bet as well. Next bet is going to be Kansas City and Detroit team total over 2.5. So they got to score 3. A little scary, not going to lie, with these two teams to score 3 runs. It's a lot, especially for Kansas City. It kind of feels like 5. And then we're going to take the Mets over 4. Fun parlay is going to be Detroit, Kansas City, New York, and San Diego, plus 1,927. So pretty aggressive there. Prop leans I like today. Lugo over 3.5 Ks at minus 145. Max Fried over 4.5 Ks at minus 105. He's over this in 5 of his last 6, I believe. Like I said, I think he has some success with his curveball today. Fastball, he may run into some issues, but I think he'll get some guys out on the curveball today. Seth Lugo over 4.5 hits at minus 120. I can see Lugo going deep in this game. 6-7 innings, and he still gives up this line. If he gets hit or hard early, I still think he goes over this line. So pretty safe bet there. And then Montas over 1.5 earned runs at minus 169. Severely juiced, but my God, 1.5 is just too little against a Mets team that is just hitting the crap out of the baseball. And then give me Hunter Brown over 1.5 earned runs at minus 135. Just good value here. We're on the first 5 anyway for the Tigers, right? Can't do it without scoring some runs. So I like that there. And then 2 Nerfies today, Atlanta and San Diego. I think Fried and Musgrove should get through the first innings, hopefully. San Diego scored yesterday, so something to keep in mind there. And then, like I said, we're going back to the Detroit and Houston game. So that's what I've got for today. I did look at the Kansas City-Baltimore game, but I could definitely see somebody giving up a run early in that game. So that's where I'm at. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's free. Give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below. Helps with the algorithm or whatever. So comment something down below, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video, which will be a double video. So we'll have the MLB and we'll have Thursday Night Football.